Disc. My terracotta army disarms me, disowns me. Witam towarzysze, to jest Polinkarz, and today I'm here with my good buddy Mayan, and we're going to be doing a challenge, so to speak. Well, I'm going to be doing the challenge. He's going to be staying sober the whole time, but essentially what we're going to be doing...
Yeah, I forgot my...
Essentially what we're going to be doing is watching this video called What If the World Was Communist by... what was it? It was Life's Biggest Questions. There we go. Yeah, Life's Biggest Questions. And I'm going to take a hit from my dab pen every single time they say something retarded or absurd. Fuck, I'm not supposed to say retarded. Something absurd or just plain wrong. And then I'm going to take a hit and then try my best to debunk it. And hopefully by the end of the video, I'm not going to be too blazed. So yeah, here we go, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me just make sure that everything's ready. Okay.
Communists believe in economic equality, in a world where everyone in society gets...
Did you hear that terrible cut? She said "where" twice.
Yeah.
World where everyone in society gets equal shares of the benefits derived from labor. Communists believe in wealth distribution and a classless society.
So far she's not completely wrong, but I do want to correct the wealth distribution thing. I'm not taking a hit because it's not absurd, but yeah, when we talk about wealth distribution as a concept under communism, it's not really as much about taking the money and separating it equally. It's more about giving the workers actual control over their workplace and means of production and their labor. So, yeah.
Yeah. And the whole distribution thing isn't even a big component. Like, when you think about distribution, I personally think mostly like fucking welfare. But in a socialist or even communist system, like, welfare wouldn't be actually a big thing. It would be actually just like the tax thing. It would be very minuscule.
Society is what Karl Marx described as a perfect utopia. But what if...
taking a hit.
Oh, yeah. There's a specific book called Socialism, Utopian and Scientific by Marx and Frederick Engels. And it's a book specifically about making fun of people who are about utopians and shit.
Like, there is... Show me the quote where Marx says that communism is a perfect utopia. Please show me where he says that. It's so fucking stupid. Yeah, dude, communism's a perfect utopia where everybody's happy, man. Absurd. I'm gonna do a counter at the top right and to show me how many hits I've taken.
Communism took over so that the whole world became communist. That's the question we're asking today on Life's Biggest Questions. Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions, the channel that imagines the impossible. Karl Marx, the father of communism, wrote the Communist Manifesto in 1848. His manifesto was what led to the formation of the Communist Party.
That's not absurd. That's not hit-worthy, but the Communist Manifesto is by no means Marx's most influential work. Is it his most famous? Yes, but it's definitely not what influenced the beginning of the Communist Party.
Fucking ignores capital, ignores the German ideology,
and capital, and fucking critique of the Gotha program, and etc. Yeah,
Jinx.
And but yeah, so that's somewhat wrong.
Karl Marx believed that in a perfect world, there would be no such thing as classes. In a perfect...
Oh my god.
Oh my fucking god. Perfect world. Again, with the utopian. Marx never advocated for a utopia. He specifically made fun of people who advocated utopia.
Yeah, no, this is just completely fucking retarded. Like, if you honestly think that that anybody is advocating for a utopian society, or any Marxist is advocating for a utopian society, you're dead fucking wrong. Like, Marx's theory is not a belief. It's not a belief system. It's a prediction. It's a scientific prediction. Fuck. Renegade's calling me. It's a scientific prediction based on the scientific analysis of the capitalist socioeconomic state. It is not some, oh, I want there to be no classes. I want the workers to have control of the means of production. No. Marxism is about the scientific analysis of capitalism and the scientific proof that capitalism is unsustainable and will eventually collapse, leading to communism. So stop with all this believing in utopia bullshit.
World, there would be no such thing as greed. But we don't live in a
Oh my god.
Dear no, please God. Here we go with the fucking humans are greedy argument.
She just said
like
that Marx envisioned a perfect world where no one was greedy. Citation needed, please. Citation.
please,
Sorry.
citation needed. We get the fucking big brains in here, like,
Fucking
oh
Christ,
dear
man.
God.
We might need the big brain squad on this one.
perfect world, do we? The majority of the world's wealth is in the hands of 0.6% of the global population, and the richest people in the world hold almost 40% of the world's wealth. Karl Marx died before any of his theories could be tested.
Fucking
ignores
the Paris Commune.
How the fuck do you test Marxist theory? Like, how do you test the collapse of capitalism leading to communism? Like, how do you test that? But of course, I assume that she's referring to socialism, which he did live to see socialism because it happened in the Paris Commune and the fucking German labor movements and the fucking English labor movements and the French labor movements. Like, socialism was happening in his time. He witnessed the Paris Commune. The Paris Commune happened in 1870 and he died in 1883. So, what the fuck?
Yeah, he was just a fucking theoretician who was just up in the fucking clouds dreaming about utopias and shit. Like, who gives a fucking shit about Karl Marx? Let's see the
Yeah,
praxis.
man.
Let's see the results, man.
If the world was communist, it would have meant that in order to become communist, we would have to overthrow all existing governments that are currently in place.
That's technically true, but you made it sound really fucking weird. Like, it's like,
Yeah, like,
I mean, maybe it's just because we're biased and we're just like waiting for her to say something retarded. Fuck, am I supposed to say retarded? Absurd.
fucking, I'm gonna just start my own counters. How many times Polanco says retarded?
Karl Marx said that there must be a complete and total destruction of the existing government. Once the existing government was overthrown, a dictator or group of leaders gained control of all the working class people in the world.
Lord
The new-
Jesus.
Oh, fucking, I don't know. That's like,
Completely. Well, when he was discussing for the total destruction of the government, he also advocated for something called the dictatorship of the proletariat. Now, the dictatorship of the proletariat is not an actual fucking dictatorship. It's not one man just like fucking ruling everything like Hitler. No, it's a dictatorship of class. What he means by dictatorship, it means like power, like the class that is the dominant force in society. Right now, we live in a dictatorship of bourgeoisie. The capitalists have power within a capitalist society. Who fucking
yeah,
thought? So what
honestly, to claim that
is
to assume that that communism wants to just put in a fucking dictator and a fucking oligarchy is just so fucking absurd. I can't even, like, oh my god, like, the dictatorship of the
fucking oligarchy.
The
So
dictatorship
fucking
of the
ironic.
proletariat is not. You're taking that way too literally. It's not literally a dictator who owns the proletariat. It's the proletariat having power in society, them actually controlling society at their will as a collective, rather than the minority few controlling society, which is what the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie is.
Palinkosh, are you doubting our great God Emperor Comrade Stalin?
Goddamn, man, we're only a minute and 30 seconds in, and I'm already super fucking high, bro.
I'm his designated driver, so he.
Oh my god. Okay.
The government now has complete control over the education, religion, employment, and even marriages of working class people. Depending on who this dictator or group of people were, their values would likely be the norm for anyone. They would decide what you learned in school, regardless of whether or not it was correct. Most people would likely...
This is blatantly just completely ignoring all democracy that socialism brings. Like, they just ignored the entire democratic system of the Soviet Union and how they formulated the education system. And it's like, I hope you know, here's another thing. I hope you know that Soviet education was more accurate than fucking American education was. In the Soviet Union, they were teaching their kids fucking evolution. And in the United States, they were still, like, teaching them about religion, about Christian shit, creationist bullshit. Like, this is so fucking just completely ignorant of the democratic and progressive societies that have existed in every socialist country.
Follow one religion. And gay marriages? Yeah, forget about it.
Oh my god, I'm taking a hit. Oh my god.
You're gonna have to take a big fat hit right there. Jesus Christ, man.
Honestly, to think, like, you do realize that every socialist country was, like, the most progressive of their time. I mean, fuck, like, the Soviet Union was the first country to give women full legal rights. And, like, pretty much fully equal rights with men. They were the first country to do so. Like...
Fucking, like, Article, 122 of the Fundamental Rights and Duties of Citizens of the Constitution of the USSR. Quote, women in the USSR are accorded equal rights with men in all spheres of economic, state, cultural, social, and political life. The possibility of exercising these rights is ensured to women by granting them an equal right with men to work, payment for work, rest and leisure, social insurance, and education, and by state protection of the interests of mother and child, pre-maternity and maternity leave with full pay, and the provision of a wide network of maternity homes, nurseries, and kindergarten. But nah, fucking, like, the USSR is just a fucking conservative shithole, man.
It's just not
like,
liberal, and it fucking prevents gay marriage from happening.
Also, like, to note, like, she says that the fucking government has control of everything. I thought we were discussing communism, not like, fucking
socialism and communism's when the government does stuff.
Yeah, I think this is a good time to discuss what socialism and communism
My
is.
man here has got the fucking Stalin Constitution ready on hand.
Okay, let's just go over what hell socialism is. First of all, socialism is an economic mode of production, quote, an economic system where people collectively own the means of production, factories, farms, manufactories, basically anything that produces and distribution, anything that produce and like distribution shit, like stores and etc., either directly or through a state, hence like the Soviet system and shit. Socialism follows the mantra to each according to his ability, to each according to his work. Basically, you get what you work for. It's fucking meritocracy in that sense. So, for example, instead of one business owner,
capitalism is like it always was.
Like, for example, like, instead of one business owner, like a capitalist, getting the profits from like an industry, the business is collectively owned and run by its employees, you know, the actual workers, or by the state, controlled by the workers, which is also be considered socialist. So, for example, like the USSR,
dude,
and Cuba and fucking China.
I'm so fucking blazed right now. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm so fucking blazed. I'm like losing concentration of what you're saying.
Don't worry, I'll hold your hand through the process.
So you what were you just describing? You're describing socialism, right? You're giving like a really long, like, you're basically like reading like a long paragraph about what socialism is.
Pretty much. Well, that basically sums up socialism.
So did you make the distinction between socialism and communism yet? All right, I was
gonna do that right now.
Communist one now. So, communism is distinct from socialism because socialism is simply the transition to communism. It is the acceleration of the collapse of the state, capital, and class through Marx's withering away process. So socialism essentially does capitalism better than capitalism does because it consciously expands the productive labor forces, while capitalism unconsciously expands the productive labor forces. And so communism is a stateless, classless, moneyless society devoid of capital and began through super capital accumulation, and yeah, I mean, communism is literally just a classless, stateless, moneyless society. There's not really much more description than that. Communities would work collectively, and just people would live without religion, without all these spiritual concepts, because there's no way to enforce them without a state, capital, or class. Like, how do you enforce and organize religion without the state, capital, or class? So, yeah.
You want to continue?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Was that like really long?
It was pretty long, but I think it got the point
That
across.
sound like really fucked up, did I?
It was a little. I mean, it was. Well, we're talking about Palinkosh here, so it wasn't that fucked up. No, actually, it was pretty impressive for fucking when you're like toked up on like fucking vape and shit.
I was like, damn, dude, I'm actually doing this good, but I'm so high. Like, what the fuck is going on? It's like muscle memory, but in my brain. But anyway.
Wait. Alright, we left off where she was talking about
Yeah.
fucking socialists not wanting to
Forget
get
about
marriage or
it.
something.
Unless we got lucky with a particularly liberal
particularly
dictator, they
liberal.
probably aren't going to be down for same-sex marriages. That doesn't mean that same-sex couples wouldn't exist, but they would likely have
Why
to
did they
exist in
vote
secret.
on it?
The leader or
They're
leaders
fine.
would then take control of all property and all wealth, and redistribute it among the people. Sure, this might be nice for a while. It would be great if all people had their basic
All
needs
about the
fulfilled.
Benjamins,
If all
baby.
people didn't have to worry about putting food on the table or finding a place to sleep at night, that would remove quite a bit of stress. We would all live in government housing where one person's belongings are the
technically,
same as the next.
It's not government housing because the government is giving you ownership of the house in socialism. Like, they distribute houses and they give you ownership of the house. Like, you don't pay rent to the government or anything. So they're technically not government houses. They were provided by the government, but they're not government houses. So, yeah.
I mean, even if it were government houses, that doesn't sound bad at all. I mean, fuck.
Yeah, but like government houses like gives that like welfare / like authoritarian feel,
Welfare authoritarianism. Yeah.
It might be nice to live in a world that wasn't so consumer driven.
Really?
Sometimes I feel like I'm a slave to advertisements. I wouldn't mind it if I was just worried about the basics, my relationships and family. But the government initiative to provide basic necessities for the masses would lose steam within the first couple of decades.
boy.
It's
Here
highly
we come. Get ready for this one.
likely that if the government took control of wealth, there would probably be widespread starvation and famine within
boy.
the first 30 years. We know this because in societies that have attempted communism, like in the Soviet Union, North Korea, and
God.
Maoist China, governments are unable to provide
God.
basic needs to their
Oh,
citizens
God.
long term. If the world was communist, it would mean all
That's like 3 hits worth of like fucking absurds.
You can take the hits now if you want.
All right.
Ready?
long term. If the world was communist, it would mean all products would be controlled by the state. This is another one of Karl Marx's principles. If the state controlled all products,
You know what I really like about this is that she's literally showing like these fucking Latin American ghettos that exist in capitalist countries.
That's the
and
fucking
she's,
rich
like,
part. I think it continues
Yeah,
all throughout
yeah, I
the fucking
know.
video.
by the state. This is another one of Karl Marx's principles. If the state controlled all products, it means that if you wanted to create your own business where you could produce your own products, you wouldn't be able to. There would be no such thing as a self-made entrepreneur. Sure, maybe the
Oh
government
my
would employ
God.
inventors
Oh my god.
The self-made
gotta take a
entrepreneur
hit.
doesn't exist under capitalism. It's just it's a myth. It's fucking fairy. The fucking, the smart inventor who like puts his invention in the market and he
Yeah,
becomes
the
fucking
inventor
rich
of the
and
light bulb
becomes a
is like
capitalist.
the ideal man in capitalist society.
Yes. Even the guy who didn't really invent the light bulb.
Yeah, the guy who didn't actually invent the light bulb and then sold it to people, which was originally intended to be free.
Fucking, you gotta love the entrepreneurship. Fucking, how do you pronounce that? Yeah, we gotta fucking love it, dude.
Who would solve everyday problems, but it's quite possible that if the state controlled all products and businesses, our society might not be as technologically advanced. If the world
Oh my fucking god, please. The Soviet Union was a backwards fucking dirt shit poor country. And then when the fucking the fucking Bolsheviks took control and installed socialism, they put the first fucking satellite in space, the first animal in space, the first man in space, the first woman in space, the first object on Venus in just 50 years. They went from
fucking
like a
first
feudal monarchy to one of the most democratic societies to have ever existed, and the first fucking country to put people in space. They were the first space civilization.
It was literally from Rasputin to Sputnik. Like, how the
Rasputin to Sputnik.
all keep in mind, all in a span of a few decades.
That was like 50 years.
Like
that was like 50 fucking years. So it's completely bullshit to claim that technology would be backwards.
I mean, was communist. Like they gone through a fucking world war. They gone through a world war, a fucking revolution, a civil war, and then World War II, and they were still able to fucking come up with all these innovations within science and technology.
Yeah, literally.
There wouldn't be much incentive for people to do well, other than to help their fellow man. And let's face it, humans are greedy. They are attracted to wealth and social status, and it's
oh my god.
You should like really get into what Marx called commodity fetishism.
God, okay, yeah, obviously fucking people are inherently selfish, but that doesn't mean that all people ever want is money. Selfishness can also include altruism. Like, you can't deny the fact that when you think you're a good person, you feel good, so you do things for people because, like, yeah, maybe consciously you care about them, but subconsciously it pleasures you knowing that you did something good. So, like, obviously humans are fucking quote unquote greedy. I would just call it selfish to an extent, but that doesn't explain capitalism at all. Like, if anything, that just rejects it.
Fucking my human nature argument.
It's human. Oh, and she's about to say, like, yeah, they've been here. Just listen.
It's always been that way.
Yeah, it's
primal. Even animals have.
Yeah, it's a bit like.
Oh my god, it's fucking cute. The Jordan Peterson crabs or fucking lobster.
So listen to this shit, dude.
In that way, it's primal. Even animals have a social hierarchy. The social hierarchy of humans is just more complex.
That fucking statement was the worst thing that she said in the entire video. She compared human class society to the food chain. Fucking social Darwinism. Like, pure social fucking Darwinism, dude. What the fuck is that stupid bullshit? She literally said, she's Jesus. Like, it's primal. And animals have a hierarchy. The human hierarchy is just more complex.
Despite humans being the most social creatures on the planet, when we work together, we actually accomplish many great things. If we weren't the most social creatures on the planet, I doubt that we would have survived as a species.
Well, I mean, yeah, not only that, but just like, this is such a social Darwinian argument. It's just like instantly rejected. Like, worst fucking thing she said the entire video, I'm pretty sure. Taking a hit.
If the world was communist, it would also mean that the government would take control of all public services. In many areas of the world, with government...
My government does stuff equal socialism, or better yet, communism.
Okay. Fuck, dude, I'm getting so fucked right now.
Government-run systems, the quality of services goes down. Hospitals might not have the best equipment. Infrastructure won't be maintained well because, let's be...
Which country made the most significant advance in cancer research in the past decade? Fucking Cuba. Don't give me no fucking bullshit about how the healthcare is shit in socialist countries. Cuba literally just recently released a vaccine for lung cancer, which is basically a fucking cure. And the United States still hasn't done that. Like, what the fuck are you on about?
Not only that, but they also stopped the transmission of HIV from babies to women or some shit.
Not only that, but also
completely.
Yeah, and not only that, but also they're currently like they have already made a shit ton of progress on breast cancer too. Like, don't give me shit about how fucking socialist run fucking hospitals are bad, because they are literally the most advanced fucking health cares in the fucking world right now.
Whoa, Palinkosh, calm down, dude. That's not real socialism. You do realize that.
Be realistic, it takes forever for the government to do anything as it is, let alone if they
hear that shit. Oh, he said, let's be honest, the government takes a long time to do everything, so I wonder why they take such a long time under capitalism. Maybe it's because they won't do anything that doesn't profit them.
Facebook equals socialism.
The difference is that in socialism, the state does not have the profit motive. They don't want their focus is not to make money. Their focus is to actually do their fucking job. And in capitalism, they want to fucking make profit. So of course they're gonna take forever with things that don't make them profit. But that didn't happen in socialism. So like, this is such a fucking backwards argument.
Socialism is literally a government for the people, by the people, of the people.
For everyone and everything. If the world was communist, there would be no democracy.
What the fuck is that? Facebook is a socialism, dude. Facebook is
fucking corporation or socialism. Fucking, this is some big brain shit right here. I think you need another token.
Okay.
If you had a problem with your government, you would not be allowed to talk about it, at least not in public. If you disagreed with the government, you could be punished. As we have seen in the past, those who disagreed with Vladimir Lenin were sent to worker camps. A communist world would definitely be a difficult thing to adjust to, and there would probably be uprisings, and therefore retaliation from the state. Would everything be terrible if the world was communist? Well, not entirely. Sure, you would have to maintain a certain level of good work, but you wouldn't have to bust your ass. And why would you? With no obligation to work exceptionally hard, there would be less societal pressures to do well. Education would be free, so more people would have university degrees. Housing would be free, so you wouldn't have to worry about where your next rent check is coming from. It would definitely be nice if communism worked, but it's been demonstrated that it doesn't work in the long term. If the entire world became communist, the reality is millions would die of starvation and a lack of basic needs, as well as poor government programs
I love the fucking picture here.
I have to pause it because I have like 3 more hits to do and I'm only on the second one. She said so much shit in that time period. Like, oh my god.
Hospitals. Eventually, after the world had enough, they would overthrow the government and things would go back to a traditional market system. So there you have it. But now I open the question up to you.
Oh my god.
That was hard. This is like just the liberal version of that one fucking anti-communist video called Why Marxism Doesn't. Oh, it's so fucking ironic. The most of the images of showing poor and destitute, like, boyos or like shacks and shit, are mostly fucking like places within the third world where exploitation is much more fucking high and is the direct result of capitalist imperialist oppression.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm like really fucking blazed right now. So that's the end of the challenge. Do you have anything else? Is there anything else I should add or you should add, Mayan?
Fucking skate fast, eat ass. Uh, no, wait, it's get paid, get laid, Gatorade.
Okay, yeah, that concludes this episode. Thank you for watching, comrades. Have a great weekend.